I am from anatomy, so today I'll be presenting my Bio Expo on Down syndrome. And I will be mainly focusing on like what strategies an educator or a parent would use when working with a child with Down syndrome. I have a question for you guys. Does anyone know what Down syndrome is, or what sort of features would someone with Down syndrome would have? Yeah, but Down syndrome, it is a genetic disorder. So instead of, everyone has 2 pairs of chromosome 21 in their gene, but Down syndrome occurs when you have three pairs of chromosome 21 caused in your DNA. And chromosome 21 is a building block for your DNA. So your DNA consists of chromosome 21. So if you have an extra of that, it will cause Down syndrome. Well, some common misconception of Down syndrome is like severe mental retardation. They're not retarded. It's just like they develop slower than any normal kid. So their body function is very slow. It grows very slow. So like I said, Down syndrome is a genetic disorder caused by an extra copy of chromosome 21. And does anyone know what a chromosome is? Well, it contains genetic material. You'll get one from your dad and one from your mom. Down syndrome occurs is because one chromosome does not separate. So an infant will end up having 3 copies of chromosome 21 instead of 2. And I have a little video that would explain what trisomy 21 is. Here's some face. They will have flattened nose and a face. Their eyes are usually slanted upward. Someone with Down syndrome will have mental and social problems. So they tend to have impulsive behavior such as stubbornness and angry outbursts. And the reason why they're stubborn is because it's hard for them to communicate with each other. And so they get frustrated. They have very short attention span and very poor judgment, which can be developed over time, and they show learning disabilities. Medical complications such as hearing loss, poor vision, sleep apnea, and chronic constipation and dementia. They have very poor expression span, so their thoughts and memories are forgotten easily. More medical complications such as leukemia. Does anyone know what leukemia is? I mean, what I wrote on the board. You're supposed to have a limited amount of white blood cells, but because Down syndrome has this genetic material that affects with your body functions, so the white cells would, control and take over. So that's blood cell cancer. They will tend to have obesity and pulmonary hyperextension that involves with the heart and the lungs. So this pulmonary hyperextension, this is their normal heart. Their arteries are usually a lot stronger, while someone with pulmonary hyperextension, their arteries are very skinny. And this is for leukemia. These are the red blood cells, while these are the white blood cells. And someone who doesn't have leukemia, there's not a lot of white blood cells, and white blood cells are there to fight off foreign materials, but as if you have leukemia, they'll tend to have more white blood cells than red blood cells. Now, if you were to work with someone with Down syndrome, starting from infants, because they develop very slowly, fine motor skills development, such as you need to do wrist and finger strengthening, and eye coordination practice, such as locking a lock. Stimulating toys such as spinner, because they are visual learners. So when you're telling them to do something, use shorter phrases and larger prints and pictures so they would be able to understand. When you're trying to teach someone with reading skills, according to Down Syndrome Quick Stare, which I found on YouTube, they have 5 stages. First, just like kindergarten or preschool, you'll have pictures and words that will go together. And then 3 other stages, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, use like go, stop, those kind of words that are used commonly. And the 5th stage, extension kit, for like our class, because this is a science class, we use course related to science. For activities, obstacle courses will help with their development because when you have multiple courses, and tell them to go over several times, they will start getting used to it. It's like a muscle memory. You know those spinny things in the playground? Yeah. Those increases their motivation because it increases their arousal level. So yeah, it's those and obstacle courses. And when you're teaching them to write, you know how when we were in kindergarten, they have these alphabet where we just trace it. For them, it's very similar, but instead of having those lines, it's harder for them to actually, because their vision is very poor. You kind of have like templates, like borders, where they can just trace over the letter instead of on the piece of paper. Okay, I'll have 3 scenarios, and I will need a volunteer or 3 volunteers to co-create. So if any of these guys get it wrong, you guys are gonna feel it. Everyone. Oh God. Okay, ready? Okay, I'm gonna be 10. You guys be 10. I'm the one that has Down syndrome. Okay. So for you, if you're trying to give me directions to go get lunch, what would you do? Okay. To see if you're trying to teach me how to read, and I'm gonna say kindergarten, what would you do for you? During recess, what sort of activities would you let me?
Oh, the little spinning.
So what happens if we don't have that? Such as